All right. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Hello. You plebs, thanks for tuning in on this week's episode of the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. This is a little bit of a different episode because right now I'm testing out a million different things that I'm taking to the Bitcoin conference. So right now I have on a microphone, if you can see. Well, if you're listening to this, I'll describe this visually the best I can. Like I'll describe this Miller Lite that I'm going to drink. So I have they call it a lavalier mic. One that's like a clip-on. Probably hear me messing with it now. It goes on to someone's shirt, traditionally called a lapel mic, and that, I'll show you guys up close here. That is what that is, and you clip it on right here, and bada bing, bada boom. Dumbest guy in the room. That is me. I can't get this thing to sit still. This looks really professional. I just thought you guys would get a kick out of this, being that it's happening live. So to give you a rundown, first of all, before I give you a rundown, get a BitBox02 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off your order. And don't worry, the black box does not have any backdoors into your Bitcoin, if you know what I mean. Some of you may have seen the Ledger thing come out, but anyways. And then also shout out to Upstream Data. Go to upstreamdata.ca and get all your mining gear there. And then shout out to Movies Plus. I may or may not talk about them a little bit, but use promo code Corey. You'll get a year for $25. And you should do that now because a lot of other people have, and you will be happy that you joined. To give you guys an idea. So I've been absolutely slammed. So I missed my typical Friday episode. I apologize for that. But I wanted to get something out there on the, get something out there into the ether, and I've just been so much work to do. And so what I did right now, I'm at midnight, 1:00 in the morning. Jesus. My flight leaves in like a little over 24 hours and still so much to do. Anyways, what I am doing right now is I'm shooting this video in what they call log, which is like the most basic, it's like the widest range of video that you can get. And I have a couple lights. So if you see these fancy schmancy lights, because I'm going to be at the conference and I'm going to be interviewing some people about some things. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm doing some interviews there for a little bit of a documentary. Oh, and also the iPhone. That's what I'm shooting on, by the way. It's the newest, best iPhone, but it's the easiest for mobile, for doing recording on the fly. So anyway, you see here, it's on a gimbal. If you know what that is, it goes back and forth. It's basically, if you're familiar with the business, it's like a Steadicam. So you can walk with it and it keeps the image real steady, but this one's slick. It can do like full 360. So you can get like, look like Inception. Anyway, so I wanted to test everything out before we get down there. Cause this equipment I ordered, usually we have like regular film equipment, but for what I'm doing at the conference, I figured it would be easiest to just take a smaller package, and the smaller package would be something like this, which is using a mobile device, using a pretty small gimbal, but still pretty slick, and then these LED lights. So this lighting might look horrific but that's because I couldn't light myself real well. Um, and also I'm not a cinematographer. So basically I'm shooting this in log. What log is it's the, from what I understand, it's the basic, it has the widest range of colors and everything and shadows that you can possibly get in an image. And so I'm using that to, you shoot it, and then in post, you can add something called a LUT, which maybe I'll add that in right now. And if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see the difference. If I didn't add that in and you're watching the video, I apologize. But the LUT is, it's the color. Did you ever hear somebody talking about film and like, oh, it gets color corrected? I mean, you might not have, because honestly, if you're not in the movie business, then why would you have heard of it? And it's quite a complex process. A lot of work goes into it. But now in the digital age, apparently they just have a lot of presets where you can just slap it on top of video footage and it, color corrects it, and it's cool. So you shoot it in this massive 10-bit, which is like 10, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands or whatever bits of color and information per pixel. So this video that I'm shooting right now, for example, if I usually just did like a FaceTime video off of my computer, which is how most of the podcasts are recorded. And by the way, this is, as you know, from the beginning, this mic, if it sounds terrible, I apologize, but I'm testing it out because I'm going to be using it. Not my podcast mic, so it might sound a little different this episode. But anyways, a typical FaceTime video of my computer, it's like 300 megabytes, one third of a gigabyte, for a half hour, 40-minute recording. This video, I'm guessing, is probably going to be close to about a gigabyte per minute. Because there's so much data that goes in. But the reason that there's so much data goes in is that then they dump it into the software, Adobe Premiere, whatever you use, and then you can color correct it there. So you can, tweak the exposure. You can play with the shadows. So the shadows change colors. You can, if you ever watch like a movie and you see like the windows in the background are all lit up, but like you can't see anything outside the window. That's like a situation where they play with the exposure so that the windows look, like just like a white glow. But then sometimes you might want to see what's outside the window. It's all what the director wants you to see. So a really good example of phenomenal color correction and color grading is the show Better Call Saul, and also Breaking Bad. If you watched either of those series, they do such a good job of setting the tone. Because the other thing is with color grading, why you have to do it is that the day is not always going to look like you want it to look. So, they're shooting in the desert, and they want it to look hot. A lot of the scenes in Mexico are very yellow and very yellow, very warm looking. And so they will, use the color grading to make it look that way. You shoot it in a way. It's really funny until I really got into this, technical side. When I'd work on movies, like really early on, you'd sit there and you'd look at like, the monitors. They call it a video village, where all the monitors are showing all the cameras, if there's more than one camera or whatever, where the director will sit so they can, watch what's happening in frame. And you look at it and you're like, oh, that looks kind of flat. Or if somebody sends you something and they're like, hey, this hasn't been color graded, so don't judge it. If you don't know what color grading is, you're going to sit there and go, what is this flat image, this piece of garbage? It's like, it looks like milky. So if you watch the beginning of this video, maybe I'll have left it in that way. It's like milky. You're just kind of like, what is this? And then they go in and they start to dial it into the imagery that they want it to look like. So that's my little lesson. There's probably cinematographers listening to this. They're like, shut up, dude. You know nothing of what you speak. But I'm just giving you my little 2 cents. Shooting documentaries, which is what I'm going to kind of be doing with this setup here. I have a couple ones. I'll talk to you about what I'm going to do. They're Bitcoin related. But it's easy you don't need as much. You're really going for more natural lighting most of the time when you're shooting a documentary. So there's no pressure to make it look, like super stylistic. You stylize it a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I'll see how much fun this is messing with this stuff, but maybe I'll shoot a narrative on the iPhone 14. I think that'd be fun. It's totally doable. You just have to be if you're doing like a narrative film, you have to be very on point, and definitely have like a DP, a director of photography. Sorry, don't want to use acronyms for people that don't know. A cinematographer or director of photography is the same thing. They're just, everybody calls them a DP. So you have to have a DP that really knows what they're doing. But it's totally doable. iPhone 14s are not quite ready to replace full cinematic cameras. Maybe someday. But I mean, there's a reason why Christopher Nolan doesn't shoot at an iPhone. But you can pull off some pretty amazing footage. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you guys about movies that I'm making. First of all, get a BitBox O2 hardware wallet. Just a little Bitcoin news. I don't know if you guys saw, apparently Ledger has a backdoor into the Ledger device where they can get to the Bitcoin whenever they want. I assure you that the BitBox O2 hardware wallet does not do that. And I would get one because it's simple and easy to use. So that's what I love about the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast being sponsored by the BitBox O2 hardware wallet, is that it's pretty darn easy to endorse them. There's no, like imagine if Ledger was my sponsor and I had to be like, well, sorry everyone, but this looks like a scam. So anyways, but yeah, so first and foremost, for Movies Plus, we are shooting a little documentary about the conference itself. And if you're listening to this before the conference happens, you can watch the entire conference live streamed on Movies Plus, for free. All you have to do is sign up with your email, but you can get the free access. You can watch the conference, live stream it there. And the idea was spawned last year whenever I went to the conference and I knew we had these capabilities to live stream it. And then YouTube banned their account randomly and they were like panicking, but they got the YouTube account back up. So nobody missed the live stream. But I said to them, I was like, next year, guys, you got to have me stream it on Movies Plus, because in the event that happens again and they want to suppress you on YouTube, all you have to do while you in the background still try to get YouTube up and running, tell everyone to come to Movies Plus, to the place that will not censor good Bitcoin talk. Doing a little documentary about the conference. I don't want to promise when that'll be out, but it's not going to be it'll be like a short, like 10-minute, thing, just behind the scenes, what it's like, the craziness of everything. I also kind of hate promising something there because I don't know exactly what I'm going to get. So it might end up being not great and not worth putting together, which would suck. But the other thing I'm going to do while I'm there is kick off searching for Satoshi. I mean, I kind of kicked it off already, but if you guys know, if you listened to me for a little bit, one of the first things I said to Daniel Prince whenever I went onto his podcast was that I had an idea for a documentary called Searching for Satoshi. And so I figured what better time to start than now. The idea, really, to me, the reason behind it and the thesis of why to make this film, because honestly, if you're a Bitcoiner, most of us are like, I don't know who Satoshi is. Probably won't find out. I don't really care. I don't know. Maybe some of them are interested. My thought, though, is that for the outsider, it's hands down one of the most fascinating aspects to this whole thing. If you're not into Bitcoin, but then it's like, wait a minute. Like you have, I don't know. I mean, what would Satoshi, I should have done this math ahead of time in case I was going to recall these numbers, but like Satoshi's Bitcoin are worth maybe like $30 billion, $3 billion. I might be off by zero. I don't know. Probably 30 billion. But, or, 227 billion, whatever the price is now. I don't know. Sometimes I don't check the price for a while. But it's fascinating that the person, this person and or group of people created this and just rode off into the sunset quietly without leaving a trace. And there's lots of conversations about what it is. Is Bitcoin divine? All kinds of stuff like that. I've talked about it before where like, I don't know, maybe God sent it to us because it's kind of the perfect money and it kind of solves a lot of our problems in the world. And it kind of would be the money that God wanted. I always say Jesus would be a Bitcoiner for sure. But yeah, I think the thing that's going to hook in your average person, or as we call them, normies, and get them more interested in it. Because I've had this thought recently, but like I saw somebody tweet earlier today talking about how terrified they were sending their Bitcoin to their like cold card. And I was like, you know what? Like, honestly, I don't think most people are ever gonna operate or work on have their hands in the main chain of Bitcoin. Like when we're talking worldwide population, like things like the Lightning Network, all that kind of cool stuff will be, it'll still be Bitcoin and it will be things that are on top of Bitcoin. But as far as like main chain transactions, moving things to cold storage, I don't know if the average person's going to be able to do that. Just the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, no. Like the average person just wants to transact and move on with their life. Bitcoin makes that easier. It also solves the problem of their money getting stolen from them via inflation and a terrible monetary system. But they're just not. I mean, most people are not going to want to sit there and because you guys know, I mean, you should have a Bitbox by now, but when you send Bitcoin to your cold storage, it is a hair-raising moment. It is like, ooh, like what is going on? You're sending all this money over the internet. It's terrifying. So, I just, I forget where I was going. Oh, so anyways, the average Joe is not going to want to sit there and get into all that nitty gritty. They're not going to be on Twitter Spaces with us to all hours of the night. They're not going to be going to the conferences. But what they might do is be interested in figuring out who Satoshi is. So I think it's a fun journey. I think it's also a great way to introduce them to the topic and then ultimately get them along the way to understand that, yeah, probably won't know who Satoshi is, and that's probably a good thing. But I think it'll, open a lot of doors, and bring just a little bit more of a mainstream feel to it. Because if you guys don't know, I mean, I'm producing the Fight for the US Dollar with Pierre Corbin, who actually Pierre and I will be meeting up tomorrow. But and we'll be sharing equipment and working together. So we'll be doing that and then doing this. But yeah, Pierre's first one was The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. So it was obviously super Bitcoin focused. The Fight for the US Dollar is obviously about the fight for the US dollar. There's the Bitcoin FUD documentary that gets really into just the details. There's just a lot of Bitcoin documentaries. And I thought I'd go with a little bit more of a narrative documentary approach here. So with all that being said, I am tired, and we'll see how this turned out. I just threw these lights up to see if they worked and shot this in the raw footage. So I'll have to color it in the morning before I put it up anywhere. But yeah, this was my test shoot. So thank you for being a part of it. I really appreciate all of you guys for listening. And if you're going to the conference, hit me up. Hit me up. My DMs are open. I don't know how much free time I'll have, but maybe we can say hey in the lobby somewhere. So that'd be pretty cool. So even if you just see me walking by, just shout out, and I'll be happy to meet you in person. So anyways, get a BitBox 02 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto, and I will talk to you guys later.